second term. So this is only comparing presidents that had 2 terms. You see Reagan's first term, 42%. His second term, he went up to 63. So people liked him even more in his lame duck. The same thing happened with Clinton, and that was largely because of the Republican Congress and Senate that balanced the budget and trimmed government and his triangulation in term number 2. George Bush W, 43, the opposite, 65%, largely fumes of 9/11 and that initial response. Then, of course, you had TARP, and all of a sudden you had this constant drumbeat of the media calling him Satan and Hitler, and no surprise, he's at 36%. Now, that was, even up till now, the lowest presidential approval rating in modern record before a midterm. Then after that, that gave way to Obama, and the years that you see next to him are the midterm years. So their election year would have been 2 years ahead before. So Obama would have been elected 08, 2010 is his midterm year. 47 and 44 stayed basically the same. Trump, then you had a 40% in 18. Biden, then 37 in 2022. Trump this year, 34%. I've got a couple of pieces that I think are playing into this, but RC, what do you think are playing into Trump's really it's an historic low approval rating? And I'm not saying this to dance on the fact that people don't like him, because I think it bodes very unwell for the midterms for conservatives. I don't really see the only party that will platform a conservative, at least a little bit, is the Republicans. And it's the Republicans that are going to pay the price for this. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. So I think there's 2 sides to it, though. Andrew, one, you take all polls with a grain of salt, right? You have to, because then you look into how it was positioned, everything like that. Now, Pew has done this over the years, obviously. But I think the other thing, too, here is all of this has been such a hard sell for the administration. Like, let's think about what's happened since Inauguration Day in 2025. Most of the stuff has been a hard sell because it's run counter to what the promises were. And when you get into a cycle where you're in a conflict that technically, I guess, isn't a war, but you're in it and you've gotten into it, and now it doesn't seem like you have an off ramp. You're dealing with inflation and prices that are a bit out of whack, and it seems like everything going on just adds to that effect. You have to think that where there's smoke, there's fire. With that understanding, I think honestly, Andrew, if you were to sit down with the leaders at Pew and say, listen, when you did the polling, take us inside of the emotions of the people who responded. How did they feel about what they were sharing with you? And I'm sure what you'd hear is there's a real sense of frustration, even from the people who want to be supportive. They just can't, because they're not seeing a correlation between the things promised and the actions needed and the actual deliverables. And not saying that everything has gone down the drain, but when you the overarching narrative, this is something I shared before with regard to Iran. Like, if you're going to have to sell this in the court of public opinion, just as much as you're going to have to sell it on its face, right? Because you've got to win that battle too. And if you don't, it's going to cause you more trouble than it's worth.
You know, speaking of Iran, some other little chirpings have begun to emerge. We've heard word both from the transhumanist tech bro globalists, and now the Senate or the House and Senate through the NDAA has put in an automatic registration now, where it used to be for a military draft. So this is not a draft, but it used to be that, you know, you'd go get your license when you're 16 if you're a male, and you would have a voluntary registration. Technically voluntary, right? They still attach some penalties if you didn't. But anyway, now that's going to be automatic. You're not going to fill out a form. Our young men particularly are going to just be automatically. So you're hearing this draft stuff. Then you're also hearing from the globalists that, well, every young male 18 to 26 should be drafted and should serve. At the same time, we have the combining of our military tech training and knowledge with Israel. Well, Israel has a mandatory draft, at least as far as from what I've been told. I believe they have a mandatory draft.
Yes.
And so you go in anyway. And the problem is what we're seeing, like with this Iran war, and it's weird because, you know, I love classic rock. I love the boomer music, if you will. They did have some great musicians. But I've always been very, I have been very patriotic and supportive of my country. And I thought that early on in my adulthood, I thought, those that were dodging the draft in Vietnam and so on, that they were chickens and everything else. And yes, a lot of them were liberal and what have you. But I know there were some that were looking at that war, because, by the way, that war did not have congressional approval, because, again, as we have repeated, there has not been congressional approval on a war since World War II, which means every single one of them has been unconstitutionally carried out. Every single one.
Is it a kinetic action, Andrew?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? Yeah.
And then the ones that we get mired in, like Vietnam, like Afghanistan, like potentially Iran here, you don't want to I can see how people would say you don't want to they don't want to fight for that. It's not that they don't want to fight for the country. They don't want to fight for that, because I can tell you, I don't want to send my sons into this war at all. The answer is no. And I'll do everything I can to fight that. I don't even know what we're fighting for. And which is weird, some of the same criticisms we had in Vietnam, and that does not disparage those who went and sacrificed. I feel terrible that they had to do that at all, to come away with nothing. But you see all this draft talk, and I say all that to show you this. This is a recent clip from Mark Levin's Life, Liberty, Levin on Fox News.
Oh, boy.
What's interesting about Mark Levin is I don't know if he's gaslighting Iran or what. He's clearly all for it. And he's talking about boots on the ground and why boots on the ground would be necessary. Check this out. Let me put that on.
I'll tell you what do you got to do here.
If you are exposed to asbestos, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve. Call now.
800-895-0489.
The average cost of mesothelioma treatment can exceed $400,000. Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve.
Call 800-895-0489.
You don't buy life insurance because you plan on dying. You buy life insurance because your loved ones plan on living. Life insurance can be a legacy and a wonderful gift to your family.
When it comes to life insurance, there are lots of options. How and where do you start? With over 40 years in the business, SelectQuote will shop some of the nation's most highly rated providers, with many policies starting at less than $1 a day. A licensed insurance agent will work to find you the right protection at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote is a one-stop shop for buying life insurance. It allows you to compare the prices of providers across your state. We're doing all of the work for you. We're streamlining the process for you as a true concierge service.
With SelectQuote, you could save over 50% on life insurance that fits your needs, your budget, and your life. Get your free quote now from a licensed insurance agent.
Protect your family's future by calling SelectQuote for your free quote with a licensed insurance agent. We shop, you save. 800-212-3199. 800-212-3199.
All right, here you go.
The president has to, people are bringing information to him, and he has to worry about all these things. Now, one other thing. Troops on the ground. He said no troops on the ground. I don't remember that in any campaign speech either. But why would we need troops on the ground? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and we wouldn't need 300,000 of them. It's this uranium, too. We've got to get the uranium. If it cannot be destroyed, if it cannot be altered, we got to get it for the reason I just said. You can make dirty bombs, and over time you can still make sophisticated missiles. So you need to get to the uranium. That's why I'm reading in the paper, we're talking about the 82nd Airborne, we're talking about these various special forces and the various military services and so forth. He's not talking about sending regular army and infantry in by the hundreds of thousands. The men he's talking about, the units he's talking about, they are specialized. And you know what else? I remember from my days in the Reagan administration, many of them are trained for a moment like this to try and secure enriched uranium. Many have been trained for moments like this.
All right, so we hear draft murmurings, we hear boots on the ground, now boots on the ground, and now it's not necessarily to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon, but from having missiles of any kind, so we need the uranium. Is there a shifting goalpost in the stage of the war of Iran? Do you think that, I don't even know where to begin, because again, I don't know what our objective is there. I don't think anybody does, but we don't know what constitutes a win, so we're not sure where strategically everything goes, and the goalpost keeps changing as to what our objective there is, and it seems to be increasing in terms of America's involvement, America's support financially, and now we're talking about boots on the ground for specific missions, which of course always are very contained and very short, and it would never be an infantry. I'm sure it would never escalate past what Mark Levin is talking about. I would hope not if that were the case, but I don't know. What do you think? Are we in more of a pickle here than perhaps we even realize?
So I think this is like a multi-layer screw up, right? And I don't know if Mark Levin is late in the information he's getting, Andrew, but we were talking about this back at the end of March. I specifically said this on War Room. I said, because that was the time that they said they were going to deploy the 82nd. Now, having lived in Clarksville, Tennessee for a number of years, I'm very familiar with the 101st and how they deploy. And yes, they are highly specialized for things like this. So that was already done, and those specialists were moved into place, which makes me wonder, since now Levin's bringing it up, if they're already active in the country working to extract the enriched uranium, because that would make sense to send them in as a specialty. In that case, this could all be a big diversion so that they can get the job done and get out. I don't know that I can lend that much credit to it just because of how badly all of this has been handled. But let's look at the multi-tier screw up, right? One, Levin's late on his information. Fair enough. Two, the CIA destabilization specialty did not work well in Tehran, right? It was terrible, right? And here's how bad it was. They couldn't destabilize to the point where, one, they could get regular citizens to arm themselves up, even though they were trying to make that happen. Okay. And then two, every leader that they tried to kill, another one just popped up, right? So it's like, did you guys not have a contingency for this when you have the greatest movement in the world and the greatest capability in the world to decapitate? So you've got all these different layers, and it's like, okay, look, we're going to position the 82nd Airborne. And I said at the time, I said, when you deploy the 82nd or the 101st, you're staying. Okay, you're planning to sustain for something. So you're going to be there a while if those guys are coming in. And if it doesn't work out for some reason, then you have the next wave that's supposed to follow. But if that's the case, Andrew, my prayer would be that if that's the case, we're very close to getting that stuff out of the country, and then this thing is done, if that was the ultimate goal. But back to what you were saying is, what is the goal? How do we know? Are we playing 670,424 D chess? You know, is this a weapon of mass distraction? Are we running the Chewbacca defense? Like, I'm not sure which one it is, which is probably why the approval rating is as low as it is. But, you know, that said, I think that when you understand someone like Mark Levin, he has a burning desire to go in and destroy. That's in his DNA, right? And he hasn't been quiet about that. He really wants that to happen. He's just trying to make it palatable for people to understand how it can happen, so that if they have to put more boots on the ground, everybody will be down with it because he said so.
So do you think then his take is more really coming from his perspective? And I'm not making a judgment. He'll believe what he wants to believe. That's fine. I agree with him on a lot of things when it comes to America. But do you think it's more coming from his perspective, or do you think that this is another little drip in the slow conditioning of America to accept something that we don't want to accept?
Great question. I think that Levin is doing the job for his handlers, right? Mm-hmm. And while he may believe that, if he does believe it to that degree, it makes it way more palatable. right? And just the type of personality that he is, I can totally see that, right? So they're like, hey, we need you to go sell this thing, and with the passion, because you actually believe a lot of this, it's going to come across as genuine. But make no mistake, Andrew, and it doesn't matter which of the outlets we choose to talk about, so many of these outlets and these quote unquote talents or influencers are so heavily subsidized that they don't have to worry about what they say, or if people don't like what they say, or even if they're wrong, because they're making life-changing money to do the dirty work, and they're fine with it, right? Which is why they'll come out and do these things, and they'll be even more blatant, because at this point it doesn't really matter. They're insulated against whatever would happen. And a guy like Levin is towards the end of his career anyway, so who cares?
Well, that's a great segue into this next piece. This is an open letter to RFK Jr., Secretary of HHS, and you talk about the handlers, really the handlers of this administration, whoever they are. There's probably a couple of names we might say, and we might be right. One of them, I think, used to hang out with Ron DeSantis in Florida, but nonetheless, I think another one funded the opposition against Thomas Massey to get him unseated. But, I'm just, hey, I don't know.
You're just observing. Yes.
Just observing. Here is an open letter, because I think one of the things that's playing into that, because I don't think that approval poll, it's not just Trump specifically in a vacuum. I don't think any of this is. I think this whole thing is the direction of America, and the fact that the GOP, yes, led by President Trump, are the ones moving all these things along and seem to be on the other side of these issues. But to give you a little bit, this is from an ex-user, Tara. Open letter demanding Secretary Kennedy's resignation. You can go find it on X if you want. I'll read you a couple of pieces. She writes, in August of 24, while everyone was endorsing Trump at your behest because you deceived them that you were going to hold vaccine manufacturers accountable, I saw exactly what was happening. From the day you led your followers astray and told them to trust the proud, quote, father of the vaccine, you is RFK Jr. here in this case, I knew you had been compromised. I knew that by aligning yourself with Trump, you would only advance Big Pharma's agenda and the medical industrial complex. Even though you swore to make America healthy again, Maha, I knew absolutely nothing would be done about the COVID vaccine or any other vaccine except minuscule pacification tactics, that you would never make manufacturers liable or challenge Big Pharma in any way. I knew it when you took the hard pivot from vaccine accountability straight into Fruit Loops. And she goes on from there. This follows, that's a great line. This follows, though, the Trump administration, President Trump just came out and talked about, sorry, let me get that here.
Yeah.
The Trump administration came out and redid relaxing the schedule for childhood vaccination. That was the big thing. It's not taking any off the market. It's not really looking at the connection. It's just, well, let's space them out. We still want you to take them, but maybe not at once. And so a lot of the Maha movement were, hey, look at these. Can we actually study the connection between some of these concoctions and things like autism, other issues like that? We certainly know there's connections with myocarditis and fertility issues and all kinds of things. But people feel really betrayed by this, and a lot of, and even the FDA coming out and endorsing the flu shot, and pushing that through. So you have a lot of the opposite. And I do wonder, though, because RFK spent his whole life and made a lot of his bones, yes, on his family name, but also, I mean, he was the guy with children.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
If you are exposed to asbestos, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve. Call now.
800-895-0489.
The average cost of mesothelioma treatment can exceed $400,000. Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve.
Call 800-895-0489.
Health defense and environmental and so on and so forth. It does strike me as odd that that turn would be so 180 degrees.
I was like, that's good. It's Valentine's Day.
But why am I hearing something else? Is that on your end?
Yeah, that's on my end.
Okay. But I would wonder if the handlers here, and again, maybe some of the people who we might have referenced a little bit ago, are the ones that are saying you can't touch this third rail, whether it's the jab, whether it's, so go over here and worry about Fruit Loops. Go over here and worry about, trans-saturated monotriglyceride, whatever the heck. Meanwhile, we'll promote glyphosate and expand that, and we'll do all the things. I don't know how much of that is RFK flipping and how much of that is him getting there, because I really believe that he would have made a deal with whomever. Trump made the better deal, so he went with Trump. His supporters went with Trump, that coalition. But, I mean, honestly, if I'm going to put money down, I don't know that the Trump administration, maybe not Trump personally, but I don't know that the Trump administration had any intention ever of following through on anything RFK would have wanted to do, were he to have actual authority in his position.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack. So I'll do the shortest version I can. Here we are again with the weapon of mass distraction, right? And we see this, you have a block of voters in RFK's case. I think we're going to see something similar here in the state of Florida with James Fishback, where they're negotiating for what they want. And they're leveraging that block to get it. This lady's basically pouring out her heart saying, you deceived us. It's interesting when you get there, there's the difference between getting there and getting in there, right? So RFK did what he thought he needed to do to get where he needed to get to. So then he gets in and then it gets real, right? Because how long did we go through this cycle of who his assistant was going to be? And the litany of assistants that they were presenting for confirmation were all on the wrong side of this. And I think what happens is also there's the influence, right? Because think about who's financing. You're dealing with health, you're dealing with big food, you're dealing with big pharma, you're dealing with big med. They're going to put pressure on you. It doesn't matter how noble your thought process is. You'll get pressure applied, and then eventually, if you don't listen, they'll put the screws to you, and they're like, "Here's what you're going to do: go out and do a couple of weapons of mass distraction, so people think they're getting something, and then slide the rest of this stuff through on the way."
And this is right down to Erica Schwartz, the new CDC nominee, who is on record as part of her hearing saying, yeah, they're everything's safe and effective, using the line. I'll give you a quick last word. I know you're up against it. I want to get one more story in before you go.
You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's move on to this story here. I know that I feel like we're moving so fast away from that, but anyway, I do want to bring this up, and because in all of this, so again, we started with the polls that Trump's has got record low approval rating. We walked through a few ways where people feel betrayed on Iran war, on Maha initiatives and agenda, certainly on the economy. We all feel that. And then also on data centers. Data centers is an across-the-board Republican and Democrat 80-20 issue. This is low-hanging fruit. The Republicans instead have embraced this. That gives the Democrats the open lane to fight against it. Now, they're fighting against it for other reasons, clearly. But here is the what I believe, I'm not going to officially call him the presumptive nominee, But the who we believe will be the Democrat nominee for governor in Florida, David Jolly. Listen to what he says here about data centers. And I think I've got one more with Byron Donalds if we have enough time. But listen to what he says about data centers, because this is another example of the Republicans not knowing how to message, or maybe in some ways not knowing how to campaign, getting on the wrong side, the exact wrong side of an 80-20 issue where they could keep their coalition together, giving it right to the Democrats. And now the Democrat, this clip, if you close your eyes and you don't know who it is, you would think this is somebody running for the GOP nomination. You know? All right, here, listen to this here. I'll put this up. Let me make that full screen for you. All right, here you go.
Not getting any sound, Andrew.
No sound? Oh,
No
sorry,
sound.
hold on. Let me start that again. We'll do that. We'll do that one more time, friends. This time with feeling. Here we go. Let me pull that back a little bit. Here we go. This will work.
Byron Donald's real plan to bring down property taxes is to devalue your house by building a hyperscale data center next door to you. That's exactly what his tax plan is. But no, here's what I'll tell you. And Byron Donalds is doing something that Donald Trump is doing, and every other conflicted politician is doing who's on all sides of this issue now. So big tech wants to come in and bring in the hyperscale data centers. Politicians like Byron Donalds have said, yeah, come on in, build on our pristine lands, give me the money in my campaign account and I'll let you do it. Voters said, whoa, 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 we don't want hyperscale data centers. And so now the position of the White House and Byron Donalds has pivoted to the following: ratepayer protection. Ratepayer protection is what they're saying to make it look like they're pushing back. Now, understand what that means. That means that big tech and utilities have to pay their own way. They're allowed to plunder as long as they pay for the plundering. Well, voters are saying, we don't want you to plunder. And by the way, paying your own way should have been the baseline. That's not a big reform. That's just because they got caught subsidizing the development of these hyperscale data centers. Now their position is, we're going to make them pay their own way, and they're taking a victory lap as though it's some important consumer protection. No, it's not. Look who's cheering on the Trump-Donalds plan for hyperscale data centers. Who is cheering it on? Big tech and big utilities. Who's against it? Voters. And
yeah, the Republicans could be making this argument and destroying Democrats far and wide across this fruited plain, yet it's the Democrats doing it. And if you're not paying attention, now look, David Jolly has no chance to get my vote, zero. I am not one of the ones, even though I am, yes, dissatisfied with the direction of the Republican Party right now. I'm not going to vote Democrat despite them. I'm not going to vote Democrat as some tool of strategy, because I think that is dumb. I'm going to vote for who I think will do the best job. It may or may not be. Well, it probably isn't Byron Donalds. But anyway, I want to find a Byron Donalds clip that I have. So RC, I want you to respond to this, because this is just a huge missed opportunity by the GOP.
I believe I'm living in bizarro world. As our good friend Gordon Gekko would say, I'm up to my backside in more nuts than a fruitcake. And yet here we are, right? Where what this guy is saying, because he ain't getting my vote either, right? But think about what he's saying here. He is making the populist argument. He's making the people's argument. And it's funny because David Jolly's a Republican, really. I mean, by all accounts, the only way he can get on the thing is to be a Democrat. So he takes on some of those positions, and there he is, right? But he's actually speaking practically and speaking directly to the pain. And he allowed the other side of this to get boxed into a corner, which in and of itself is a silly mess, right? But I want you to think about something. I want people to think about those in the middle of the road who are still trying to figure out what they're going to do with them listening to something like this without context and saying, that sounds pretty good. You know what? I like that position. And they make their decision based on that. That's scary.
And listen to this. This is Byron Donalds. This came through James Fishback's X, but it's been reposted several times. Now here's Byron Donalds' play on bans for data centers.
We got a lot of campaigns running around promising moratoriums and bans, when I know, Jay knows, Griff knows, Shane knows, there ain't no bans coming.
Ain't no bans coming. That's our, so can't beat them, join them, just deal with it. I mean, that's the GOP argument. That, along with, hey, if you're not fine with paying higher prices for gas, you're anti-American, and learn how to make burritos for a family of 8 on $20. This is the Republican message going into the midterms. I wonder why the approval rating is so low.
I mean, that one kind of speaks for itself. And that level of arrogance in under the guise of trying to be practical is just silly, right? But that's someone who already knows they got it in the bag, right? And has enough money that they can just outspend anything that would keep them from getting over the finish line. What should scare people is what happens the day after Inauguration Day next year. Florida is going to go onto a track that other formerly great states have gone through, and we see the results, right? It's like they end up like the equivalent of you using the bathroom before you go on a long vacation and forgetting to flush the toilet and then coming back. That's what it's going to end up looking like, just being as honest as I can, right? And that is summed up in a 10-second clip. And that just the level of arrogance there, and it's a 10-second clip. So look, there could have been context before and after. I'm not saying there isn't, but just the fact that you would say that publicly in that tone, in that way, with that posturing tells me a whole lot. And don't think that ain't going to get used.
Yeah, over and over
between now and November, over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, and you put that together with the David Jolly clip that we had, and David Jolly has his campaign marked down. People are going to want somebody that sounds sane, that's not going along with the stuff that we've been asking our representatives to put a stop to in the first place. All right, we're up and out of time because I know you got to run, RC, so we're gonna break it here, but we'll be back tomorrow on the Spin Cycle. RC, real quick, let them know where they can find us.
Yeah, so guys, thanks for joining us. Culture Crossroads 316 on YouTube for all things Spin Cycle, also Culture Crossroads and Andrew's great commentary. We continue to encourage him, so you need to do the same. His monologues and his one drops are amazing. Continue to encourage Andrew to do those on a regular basis. All things Watchmen Action start at watchmenaction.org. We are Watchmen Action on all socials, and you can catch the Spin Cycle weeknights at 9:30 Eastern on the Watchmen Action Network. That's on Bet Cable Channel 40 in North Dakota, and always streaming live 24/7 at watchmenaction.org, also on YouTube and Rumble.
All right, and as always, thank you for watching. For RC Williams, I'm Andrew Southwick. Wherever you're watching, please like, share, subscribe. Help us grow this channel, this program, and all the programs that we're doing. Thanks again for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Watchmen Action Training provides a masterclass for advocating. In less than a day, you and your group are ready to win the battles that matter most. Visit watchmenaction.org to learn more.
If you are exposed to asbestos, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve. Call now.
800-895-0489.
The average cost of mesothelioma treatment can exceed $400,000. Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve.
Call 800-895-0489. The IRS has collected over $1 billion in past due taxes this year, and they're aggressively targeting more taxpayers. Don't wait until the IRS comes knocking. Our team is here to help you resolve your tax debts before things escalate. Every tax situation is unique, and so is our approach. We tailor solutions to fit your specific needs, giving you the personalized attention you deserve. The IRS has resumed collection enforcement. Don't wait until it's too late. Our team can help you resolve your tax issues before liens, levies, or passport restrictions kick in. Behind on filing taxes? We specialize in getting you back on track by filing past returns and negotiating with the IRS. Does the IRS claim that you owe money that you don't have?
Hey, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth. This is your daily dose of objective freedom. or your daily dose of freedom, not your daily dose of objective freedom. Although I guess freedom could be, no, I guess it is subjective to some. Anyway, your daily dose of freedom in a world of lies, confusion and lies. Also, your favorite Christian conservative American that happens to be black. Guys, I got a bang up show for you today. We're going to talk about several things, but I want to start with something that's very different. Something that might throw you off guard, but I think it's important to talk about. I mean, we're family, if you will, when it comes to the conservative movement. And sometimes we have to have conversations that are uncomfortable, but that are real, because we want to make sure that freedom in this country is maintained. And there's only going to be one side right now that's advancing freedom. There's going to be one party that's advancing freedom in the United States of America as it exists right now, and that is the Republican Party. And so this topic, I got to tell you, I think it takes courage to talk about this topic. And so I'm honored to have my buddy back on, R.C. Williams, because I brought him on. He wrote a Substack, and I want you guys to check this out, honestly. And I'm going to share this on social media as well. But the Substack is entitled, and I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings, but I want you to understand that this is all good. We all love each other, but we all want the best for Florida. We all want the best for the United States of America. Here's the title of the Substack, and we'll go from there. Byron Donalds wants to govern Florida. Voters deserve answers first. And I'm going to encourage you to read this Substack, subscribe to this Substack, Sherloc.substack.com. No K on Sherloc, Sherloc.substack.com, Sherloc.substack.com. And I say this as a person who lives in Florida. I'm obviously a vote in Florida, and I like Byron Donalds. But we've got questions. And so, R.C. Williams, welcome back to the program.
Carl, good to be on with you again, my friend. And I guess we should preface this just a little bit, letting people know that you, being smart and handsome, have been so far ahead of the curve on so many things. You had us on when we talked about the Silicon Valley bank crash. And what we did for people is we connected the dots to the origin well before anybody else. We told them what was going to happen. We told them how they got out of it. And we also told them which international banking player was going to go down next as a part of that process, amongst other things, because you've had us on a number of times. So our track record and forecast here, Carl, like you said, we're not out to make enemies, but as researchers and investigative journalists, we have to call a spade a spade. If we don't call balls and strikes, then the entire constitutional republic structure no longer matters. And that was the genesis for this article. So obviously Byron Donalds is running for governor of the state of Florida. He got Trump's endorsement early on. This time last year, there seemed to be a full coronation. Normally we have primaries in the state of Florida as these things go, but there seemed to be a full coronation and Byron was on his way. Well, as these things continued, questions started to pop up, a number of questions about his history and background, his relationship with Larry Wilcox. And that is not the point of this piece. But one of the things that did come up was some of his stock trade activity with relation to the Stock Act. Now, the Stock Act in Congress calls for members of Congress to report consistently any stock trades or activity that they have. And Carl, you mentioned this while we were offline, with Polymarket and everything like that. Now you get dinged every time that Byron Donalds or his trust or however he's structured actually trades. So there were questions around the reporting cycles for Byron with his stock. And so there were things that happened, and then after the fact, we find out that these things were done. So we said, let's dig in here and let's try to figure out what's going on. And here's the reason why, Carl. So Byron and his wife, Erica, are, by all accounts, experts in finance. I mean, at the CFO level, right? Obviously, they were both in the banking business. Erica has a CFO background. They ran an academy, this whole thing, right? So there's a background here in finance. And so our question was, if you purport to run the state of Florida, that is what Byron is proposing to everyone. He's like, I want to be the governor. I want to run the state of Florida for the next 4 or the next 8 years. And I have a background and expertise in finance. Our question was pretty simple. If that is indeed the case, then, and I'm working on the Sherlock big board here because I'm going to bring it up in a second. But if that is the case, then how does one miss something that is relatively straightforward, which is reporting in a timely manner, according to the Stock Act, for Congress? So as we dug in there, Carl, we found out some pretty interesting things, and I'll share them. Let me just pull up the board here. So one of the first things that we ran into is we're in the 119th session. of Congress for 2025, 2026.
Right.
What we discovered is that Byron Donalds is on a number of committees and subcommittees. I'll read them off quickly. House Committee on Financial Services, Subcommittee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Artificial Intelligence, Subcommittee on Financial Institutions, House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, Subcommittee on Economic Growth, Energy Policy, and Regulatory Affairs, and Subcommittee on Military and Foreign Affairs. Well, Carl, if you think about this, one of the things that's inevitably going to happen here is you're going to know a lot about what's going on with a lot, right? That's just kind of the way that it goes, right?
Lots of
so we
financial
said,
stuff, yeah. Lots of financial
right. And so we said,
committees.
look, that does not make Byron Donalds guilty of anything by any stretch of the imagination. He's serving. That's his job.
Right.
But when you start to factor in the fact that something relatively straightforward, like doing your Stock Act reporting, should happen, and it's happening late at a time where there were significant increases in his net worth, that called the question. So then it got a little bit stranger. Earlier this year, up in the Panhandle, there was a private event, and this video is linked in the Substack. Congressman Jimmy Patronis, the former CFO of the state of Florida, said the following. So Congressman Patronis, the former CFO of the state of Florida, is with Byron Donalds, introduces him at a fundraiser. They're pitching to potential donors that they are shareholders who would gain access to him, meaning Byron Donalds, the CEO, and to help steer Florida's direction. Carl, you have to ask the tough question at this point. Okay, maybe you're making an analogy in some way, but that sounds really strange, in particular in a room of wealthy people. Now, the next video that we link to actually shows Byron responding to these allegations. And what came out of it is he didn't really say much of anything, right? He kind of worked his way around it. And some of the folks that we talked to in preparing this story have said the same thing. Byron Donalds. Hey guys, you know Juliana and I and what we do, so let's be honest. The healthcare system has become a maze of red tape and sky-high costs. That's why we want you to check out Altrua Health Share. That's a community of people helping people. Now, Altrua isn't insurance. It's a faith-based health sharing community where members cover one another's medical needs, not corporate profits. Okay, important stuff. You'll get access to over 1 million providers nationwide, and you can save thousands of dollars a year based on what you're dealing with now. It's time to take control of your healthcare. So here's what we need you to do. We need you to go to altruahealth.org/Watchmen. That's altruahealth.org/Watchmen. And when you get there, use the promo code FREEDOM100 for an additional discount. Or you can give them a call and discuss the options. 512-717-4639. That's 512-717-4639. altruahealth.org/Watchmen. Make sure to tell them the Watchmen sent you.
He had a good business, solid product, good people. He just couldn't figure out why growth had stalled. Sherloc found the buyers he didn't know were looking. Now he knows exactly where to go next. Learn more at investinanswers.com.
You don't buy life insurance because you plan on dying. You buy life insurance because your loved ones plan on living. Life insurance can be a legacy and a wonderful gift to your family.
When it comes to life insurance, there are lots of options. How and where do you start? With over 40 years in the business, SelectQuote will shop some of the nation's most highly rated providers, with many policies starting at less than $1 a day. A licensed insurance agent will work to find you the right protection at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote is a one-stop shop for buying life insurance. It allows you to compare the prices of providers across your state. We're doing all of the work for you. We're streamlining the process for you as a true concierge service.
With SelectQuote, you could save over 50% on life insurance that fits your needs, your budget, and your life. Get your free quote now from a licensed insurance agent.
Is an eloquent speaker. He knows his way around. He knows how to talk. He spends a lot of time on national media, and that's built him a reputation, but he never really answered the question. And people can go and look for themselves. So as we went down this road, we said, okay, Byron has in the past said there should be accountability for those in Congress. And so I'm going to read to you what he said on March 7th, 2022 during a Facebook Live interview. Here's what he said. Because the question was, what should happen to members of Congress who fail to comply with the Stock Act after there were reports of disclosure failures on Capitol Hill? Here is what Byron said. That's when you have to have sanctions and the House has to get real. He continued, we cannot have a situation where members are getting rich off of inside information. If they did this in the private sector, they would be heavily fined. They could potentially be jailed. The same thing has to happen with members of Congress. It's that simple. Well, rules for me and not for thee, because these very words, looking at 2024, Byron did not do these things. And there was not any uproar about the fact that he missed them, even though he said these things and purported to set the standard. Also, that he is an expert in finance. So our question came right back. It's like, if you're going to say these things, then you have to be held accountable or provide an explanation. Now, his explanation was, yeah, it may have been late, but we got it done. That's not the right answer. The timing of these things, Carl, is critical, because if you miss a gap that big, let's say that something nefarious happened with an investment that was made on his behalf, right? And we didn't know that till 4 or 5 months after the fact. And that could impact an election. There are huge ramifications, Carl, to not following the rules. Now, I know I've given you a lot, and I want to give you a chance to ask me questions on it, but this is part of what we discovered here, and we want to get more answers.
And guys, let me say this. Listen, Byron Donalds has been an excellent congressman. I want to make that emphatically clear. He's been really great being a congressman. But there are a lot of people in the state of Florida, and honestly, I know you can't tell by the polls. I get it. And I think it's because obviously he got Trump's endorsement. I haven't gone to one single Republican event where people haven't said, so many people, by the way, I wish Trump hadn't endorsed him so that we could have a real primary. Having said that, I don't know that Byron Donalds would be, I believe he would probably be a good governor. All right. He's been a great congressman, but I'm sorry. This stuff, RC, until I read your Substack, I was oblivious to how many of these committees that he sat on, or subcommittees that he sat on, and how many of them had to do with finance. And I'm sorry, there's allegations out there. I think questions need to be answered. I don't have a dog in this race per se. Well, all right, I take that back. I like him, but I also like Jay Collins. But I'm like, I think there should be a debate where they can hash this kind of stuff out. So this isn't, because I know a lot of people are going to get mad. Oh, you're Republicans bashing Republicans. Listen, guys, a Republican is going to be the next governor of Florida, period. But I'm sorry, it's up to people like us to make sure that we put the right leaders in place. And if there's something that's a little sketchy, I'm sorry, people need to clarify. And that includes Byron Donalds. Just because you got Trump's endorsement doesn't mean that we don't deserve to have questions answered. More with RC in a moment.
Every generation must decide whether it will recognize deceit before it becomes normal. This weekend, Salem News Channel's America 250 film series presents The Fall of Deceit, a sobering documentary on government overreach, faith under pressure, and the cost of abandoning truth. Watch Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Salem News Channel.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get back to our guest, R.C. Williams. Again, I want to encourage you to check out his Substack. He runs Watchmen Action, and then also Watchmen Weekly. You can subscribe to the newsletter. And I just thought, I got to be honest with you, I had to bring R.C. on because there aren't a lot of people that are courageous to talk about these things. R.C. is heavily involved in the political circles here. In the Central Florida area, but not everybody is willing to speak out, and it's not like we're sitting here trying to make enemies. Again, Byron Donalds has been a great congressman, but I'm sorry, this stuff is a little crazy, and I want some clarification. I don't want anybody to become the governor of Florida that's going to fleece the office, and I'm not saying that he is. But we need to have some, we need some splaining, as Carl, Ricky Ricardo would say.
Yeah, can I share something with the audience? Because I think this is important. And we've had now to start prefacing this because we have also been critical of the Trump administration for some of the moves that they've made. Because if you don't call balls and strikes, then none of this matters. What are we even doing, right? You can't always be a homer. There's nothing wrong with being a fan, but you can't be a homer every single time. Here's what I want to share with people. And again, this is nothing against Byron or Erica. Juliana and I know them. This is not a personal thing. This is simply answer the question. And by the way, let me also say this before I jump into my point on that, is that Byron, Erica, both of them are welcome to come on Sherloc Exposes, ripped from the headlines. We are the Watchmen Weekly, the Watchmen Brief, the Watchmen Action Network, whenever they want. And we will go through this entire piece and get these questions answered. We will do it. We will run it. And if it turns out that we are off in any way, we will retract or anything else that we need to do accordingly, because that's how this actually works. But this information, Carl, is out there. So let me get to this. If you do not keep your house clean, how do you expect anyone else to think that you will keep their house clean? Carl, it's critical, whether it is Byron or anybody else that wants to run to be a public servant for any office in this state, to be put under that level of scrutiny. The challenge that we have at the local, state, and federal levels is that if we don't keep an eye on the people that we send to represent our interests, I can guarantee you they will represent their interests. And that's never good for you. That much I can promise you.
And frankly, this is why I can't stand coronations. I mean, I say this as a conservative. There's a lot of people already, let's just be real, talking about 2028 and J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance may be a great president. I'm not down for a coronation. I want to see some fighting, because you know what? There's going to be stuff that we may not know about. There's going to be stuff that other candidates might be better at, have better answers for. And it's important that we, the people, get those answers and we feel comfortable about the people that we're voting for. And again, if my only option is Byron Donalds, then obviously I will pick a Republican over a Democrat any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But I want the best Republican for the job. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's really as simple as that for me. So anyway, go ahead, RC. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Carl. I mean, so as we continue to go down the road, there was actually a request from one of the action groups to the government with regard specifically to Byron's stock trades in relation to the Stock Act. And as you dig into that a bit more, we did not do it in this piece, but there will be a subsequent piece where we go into some of the timing of trades, in particular around technology and AI stocks. Because one of the things that happened, we were able to discover that there was an investment in what you would call a picks and shovels type of AI company at a convenient time that had a very large appreciation right before one of the AI advocacy groups made a donation to the Donalds campaign. Now, it is difficult to say that these two things correlate. But Carl, if you think about that logically for a second, the timing on these things is incredible. And it is interesting to me, and this isn't just Byron, by the way, there are 434 other members of the House and there are 100 members of the Senate who all eat at the same trough. The only group who knows everything that's going on still refuses to govern themselves when it comes to this issue. Now, all of a sudden, by the way, as we're doing the show yesterday, Byron came out and said that he is all for the Insider Trading Act for Congress and he's going to vote yes on it and he's proud to do so. And my response was simple. That's great. What took so long? Why is it taking so long for Congress to regulate or govern themselves? And by the way, while you're at it, you should probably work on Polymarket and Kalshi, because those are the biggest insider trading markets probably in the history of the world, which is why, Carl, you get dinged every time somebody trades.
That and Nancy Pelosi, stock trader. I gotta admit, they do a fabulous
She's a master,
job.
Man. She's a master at this.
Well, here's the thing with Nancy Pelosi stock.
The IRS has collected over $1 billion in past due taxes this year, and they're aggressively targeting more taxpayers. Don't wait until the IRS comes knocking. Our team is here to help you resolve your tax debts before things escalate. Every tax situation is unique, and so is our approach. We tailor solutions to fit your specific needs, giving you the personalized attention you deserve. The IRS has resumed collection enforcement. Don't wait until it's too late. Our team can help you resolve your tax issues before liens, levies, or passport restrictions kick in. Behind on filing taxes? We specialize in getting you back on track by filing past returns and negotiating with the IRS. Does the IRS claim that you owe money that you don't have? We fight to lower your tax debt to an amount that you can afford. United Tax Fix. Expert help, personalized service, and the peace of mind you deserve.
Call 800-785-5592. That's 800-785-5592.
Before you buy a stock, it helps to know what the legends would say. Investornator scores it against 8 legendary investor playbooks. One clear answer, backed by real data. Investornator.com.
The IRS has collected over $1 billion in past due taxes this year, and they're aggressively targeting more taxpayers. Don't wait until the IRS comes knocking. Our team is here to help you resolve your tax debts before things escalate. Every tax situation is unique, and so is our approach. We fight to lower your tax debt to an amount that you can afford. United Tax Fix. Expert help, personalized service, and the peace of mind you deserve.
Call 800-785-5592.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all.
If you follow them on X, all right, it's not just Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, whatever, they make trades, but it's not just them. Initially, when I subscribed and I followed and I got their dings, I assumed it was just Nancy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to copy what Nancy Pelosi does. It's everybody on the Hill. There were some Republicans whose names were dinged right before a bill or something was presented to them. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. People that I would have never imagined. Guys, it is insane up on the Hill. So many of them are getting rich off of us, which I got to give Lindsey Graham props. I wasn't a big Lindsey Graham fan. I hate to say this, but it's true. I'm a bigger Lindsey Graham fan now after his passing, learning some of the things about him that I frankly never knew about his life. But one of the most impressive things to me, RC, was that this man was in Washington, D.C. for over 30 years and was worth, 1.4, 1.5 million? That is unheard of. It's sad to say that is unheard of. Whether you agree with him or not, that is a man that understood his role, that liked his job, that liked serving the people, and he didn't go there to get rich. Frankly, making 174, it wasn't always that, 174 or close 180. I'm not even sure what senators make nowadays, to be honest with you. But over a stretch, I think he was in the House for 8 years and then in the Senate, the upper chamber, for over 20 years. I'm like, frankly, that's really bad investing, even at that pay scale. He just doing basic investing, he should have had more than that, which tells me he wasn't in it for the money, but so many of them are.
Carl, they are, and it's hard, right? It's hard to resist that. But I'll spill a little bit of tea here because I think the audience deserves to understand it. It doesn't matter whether you go to the state house in any state, pick your state, or you go to the feds. As you come in, they tell you how it's going to go. When you're a freshman, you get orders. And especially at the federal level, one of the big ones is you're given a fundraising number and you do whatever it takes, because if you don't hit that number, no committee assignments for you, no favorite for you, no bills move for you. Your entire job is to raise as much money as possible for the party apparatus. And in that, you start to get the things that you want. And so when you think about it, Carl, all of that, it's like the streets are lined with milk and honey. If you do the job, using a wrestling analogy, then in turn, you'll be given favor, you'll get insight on things, right? So it's difficult to resist, but this goes back to something, as we just celebrated the 250th, Carl. Benjamin Franklin, the other founding fathers, all talked about eternal vigilance. They said, if you do not watch the people you send to represent you, you will end up in the situation that we're in today. And Carl, listen, it becomes difficult when the leadership in the nation doesn't follow basic rules and standards. Divestiture from your interests is one of the most important things you can do as a public servant. The higher the profile, the further away you need to be from those things, because it becomes very easy, whether you are a congressman who has a high profile, a senator who has a high profile, or you're in the executive branch or the Supreme Court or anything like that. Every time you open your mouth, you move the markets. And then people start to ask hard questions. Are you doing it for your own gain? Which is why historically the standard has been to divest yourself from those things and put a firewall up so that you don't know what's happening for this exact reason. But Carl, it goes back again to the fact that my question, and we've got a laundry list of questions we can get to in a minute for constituents to ask Byron Donalds when they see him. Why hasn't Congress regulated themselves against the very thing that makes them entirely incestuous? What has taken so long for us to get to this point? What public servant in their right mind doesn't say, you know what? My constituents don't want me using inside information. They want a firewall around it. I can appreciate that. And in an effort to keep getting reelected or not go to jail, I think I'm going to go ahead and vote for that because it makes total and absolute sense. My question, as it is on any number of things, is what's taking you so long? And if people really start asking that question, Carl, and they don't let up until they get an answer, you'll see the roaches scurry like the lights came on.
And frankly, I'm not convinced that this thing go get passed, but I hope that it will. And I agree with you. R.C. Williams, listen, I appreciate your courage. I appreciate you coming on. Guys, I do want to encourage you again. Check out his Substack, sherlock.substack.com, sherlock.substack.com. No K there. And honestly, it's just a fabulous site. Finances, politics, and God, where you can get involved. I mean, they do so much work at Watchmen and Watchmen Action. RC, thank you so much for all you do, man. God bless you.
Appreciate you, Carl. On a special edition of the Watchmen Brief, Carla Smith from C4 Consulting joins us. Now, Carla has gone through the Watchmen Action training program. She joins us today as a success story to tell us how the Watchmen Action training program helped her to officially launch C4 and advocate for the things that matter most. A very special edition of the Watchmen Brief is straight ahead. Stay tuned.
Action Training provides a masterclass for advocating. In less than a day, you and your group are ready to win the battles that matter most. Visit watchmenaction.org to learn more.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Welcome back to another edition of the Watchmen Brief. My name is R.C. Williams.
And I'm Juliana Armand.
You know, Juliana, it has really been a blessing with all of the Watchmen Action trainings that we've done to now hear people saying to us, you know, I was at the training and then this happened to me. And today we have the blessing of having Carla Smith from C4 to join us. Carla, welcome to the Watchmen Brief.
Hi.
Yeah, we are excited to have you. So I guess just for a little context for everybody watching, Carla attended a training that we did in Southwest Florida a couple months back. She had this idea of this thing that she wanted to move forward. She comes to the training. We see her not too long ago, probably about a month ago, down that way. And she says, oh my goodness, guess what happened? I actually launched. So Carla, we wanted to have you on, one, to talk about C4 so that people understand what it is.
Yeah.
C4. She already has her business card and everything. Go ahead.
Which is excellent. We want to talk about C4, what it is, what it does. And then we'd like for you to share your experience of how the Watchmen Action training actually helped you to get over the finish line. So give us the rundown on C4.
Okay. So I work with an organization.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Watchmen Action Training provides a masterclass for advocating. In less than a day, you and your group are ready to win the battles that matter most. Visit watchmenaction.org to learn more.
If you are exposed to asbestos, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve. Call now.
800-895-0489.
The average cost of mesothelioma treatment can exceed $400,000. Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be
called the American Patriot Executive Committee, and they were looking for someone to create a political committee, which is a PAC, in Florida to help grassroots candidates. And I was like, okay, I kept waiting, hoping someone else would do it, and nobody was stepping up, but I was, okay, I'll do it because I'm an accountant and I thought I can keep up with that. And I had been the treasurer for the local REC for several years, and I knew how to handle the reports, and I felt comfortable being able to proceed. So I was bouncing around the idea, talked to a few people who had set up PACs before, and was still on the fence when I took your training. And that's kind of what pushed me over the finish line, was to be able to actually pull the trigger and do it. So this PAC is different than any other PAC that I'm aware of in Florida or even in the US. You're able to pick the candidate that you want your money to go to, and then you can also come back and see where your money was spent. Because you'll have a unique identifying number given to you when you donate. You use that number to come back and you can see what expenses were paid with your money. So that's the difference. It's because most PACs, when you donate money, you have no idea what they did with it. You can go look at their reports that they file online, but it's vague, and it doesn't give you an idea of where your money went because it gets all lumped together. So this was so people could actually track and feel part of what was happening with the grassroots candidates that they support. So that was the whole idea. So
I love what you did, because you fixed a pain point. But the part of your story that I loved the most was I was sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do this work, and was like, you know what? No one else is going to do it. So I'm just going to step up and do it. And we need more people to hear that kind of story where it's like, I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and I realized that it was either not being done, or it was not being done well, or it was not being done the way that it should be done. right, in a kingdom fashion. So people are just stepping up and doing the things that we know that we can do. Like you said, you're an accountant, you're able to do this and deal with the money and all the finagling and stuff like that. That's really important that you stepped up and did that. I just want to say that I really appreciate you doing that. And it's really exciting that like our training was like the thing, the catalyst that pushed you over and said, you know what, I can do this. There's no reason why I can't do this.
Right. Right. I mean, I don't know. I've always kind of felt like, well, someone else is more qualified. And then, we're sitting in your class and you were throwing things back at me. And I'm like, oh, I guess I am qualified. So I appreciate that.
Carly, you most certainly are. You were then, and then you were able to blossom from it. A quick question on the PACs. So people have heard of political action committees probably in passing. And from what people will gather if they go on the internet and search, they kind of look like these dark money pits where endless amounts of money can come in for people you don't necessarily know to fund things that may not necessarily be in your best interest. Is that a good description? And then if you can answer that part and then talk again about the contrast with C4 and how that works.
So yes, a lot of PACs are funded by dark money. And in some instances, you'll have PACs that are ran on both sides of the political spectrum by the same person. So you've got the left-leaning side and the right-leaning side being funded by the same people, which is, interesting. So what C4 does is we not only vet the candidates that we support, but we also vet our donors, because I'm not taking any dark money. So if someone tries to donate online, it sits in this other entity where the money comes in, the place that processes it. And then I go and I verify who these people are. And if they don't match up with what we believe in, then I refund it back. I won't take it.
I love that.
We're not going to get bought by, and well, we're not going to be bought by anybody, but I don't want the influence of donors thinking they're going to be able to try to own these candidates.
Right.
So we want the money to be clean. We want it really to be small donations from multiple people and not huge donations from one individual, because that's where you end up having problems. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Continue, please.
One thing that Matt Taylor, who's running for Commissioner of Ag for Florida, he has said that, it would be nice if we could abolish PACs. And I agree with that. I would be happy to be able to shut this down if they abolish PACs across the board. And then that way people can just donate directly to the candidate, because that's where the money needs to go. These PACs have become a middleman, and that always causes problems, because that's another layer. And I can get into a lot of different examples, but I won't. Of where a middleman comes in supposedly to fix a problem, but then they become part of the problem.
Right.
And I mean, I would be, if they can abolish PACs across the board, so it's a clean playing field and people can donate to the candidates as much as they want to the candidate, then I would be fine with us, shutting it down. Ours is all volunteer anyway. There's no salaries paid out of this PAC. Nobody's making money off of this. Every dollar that comes in turns around and goes back out, either as advertisement for candidates. We do small donations to the candidates that are smaller races like county and city. We will donate there, and even some of the state reps, because they're a much smaller district and their campaigns are starving for money. We will take, if the donor specifies that they want us to do that, we will donate directly, money to them. But what we really created it for was to do the advertising for candidates, in addition to what they do with their own campaign.
So Carla, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? Is that somebody says, hey, you know what would happen if we did this above board?
Right.
And interestingly enough, we actually did a piece earlier this week on leading the future. So the big AI PAC. and how they're working to heavily influence at both the national and state levels what happens with the AI data centers, and how you get these dark money pools where they can bring in endless amounts and then they can weaponize it against people. And kind of to your point about the small dollar donations and the transparency, these guys can manage to mask so much of the money, and then they make strange claims like it's a David versus Goliath fight, and in this fight we're the Goliath. You, me, Juliana, the average person is the Goliath, and these guys with all the money are David fighting this epic battle against evil with all of their money, because it needs to be stomped out so they can do whatever they want.
Wow.
I think this thought process going forward is a model. Like, you've actually created a model here, and I'll come back to the training in a second. But one of my questions for you, Carla, is now that you're up and running, what does the next, let's say 9 to 12 months look like? Because as we do this today, the midterm elections, both in the state of Florida and throughout the country, are coming up in November. And I think some people think there's a lull in 2027, but I don't think that's the case at all. What's the plan for C4 going forward?
Well, our PAC not only helps candidates, it's called C4, but its full name is Concerned Citizens for Common Sense Communities. And what that entails is not only helping get people elected that we want in office, it also deals with things in your community that have nothing to do necessarily with a candidate. Like, we can work on a drive to get decent books in libraries instead of some of the garbage that's in there. Or we can work on this deal with data centers. Yes, in a way it's related to candidates, but it's also a community problem. So we can work on that. Ballot initiatives, we can work on those type things. We can work on more than just trying to get somebody elected, because I wanted it to be something that was more than just when an election was happening. So it does more than that. So we will be busy in 27, and of course we'll be busy in 28, but we are working in 27 as well on several things.
Such good news.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, Carla, as we land the plane here, we got to ask a couple of questions about the training experience, right? So we know that it helped you to get off the fence and go. So talk to us about how you felt when you came in, and then what things clicked for you while you were in the training that made you make that you.
Watchmen Action Training provides a masterclass for advocating. In less than a day, you and your group are ready to win the battles that matter most. Visit watchmenaction.org to learn more.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-313-6867. 800-313-6867.
The average cost of mesothelioma treatment can exceed $400,000. Families often face losing their homes or life savings just to pay the bills. If you or a loved one worked in these industries and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation to protect your family. At Rights and Claims, we've helped families recover over $1 billion to cover medical costs, lost wages, and more. Let us help you secure their future with the compensation you deserve.
Call 800-895-0489. The IRS has collected over $1 billion in past due taxes this year, and they're aggressively targeting more taxpayers. Don't wait until the IRS comes knocking. Our team is here to help you resolve your tax debts before things escalate. Every tax situation is unique, and so
committed to your commitment, and you were ready to go. Just tell us a little bit about your experience.
Okay. Well, when I came in, I really wasn't sure of what to expect about the program. And then walking through it and listening, mainly what sold me was the things you were saying because we kept using my idea as the example in the class. And so what you were saying to me, I was like, if he can come up with this within 5 minutes of hearing about it, then I should be able to move forward with the tools that y'all were training us that day with and actually get this across the finish line. So I really appreciated being a part of the program that day.
Our slogan is about, giving courage to people to take action. That's the whole point, right? Because once you're educated, right, once you understand, once you get the feedback, because we're just mirroring back to you what it is that you want to do, helping you to decide how to go about what it is that you need to do. And once you understand all of that, that gives you the courage to be able to take action. So we really appreciate the fact that you were there, because your story and what you're trying to do was perfect for the class.
I've got a little plaque in my bedroom, and it says, "Your passion is waiting for your courage to catch up."
Amen.
So, and I look at it every day. And so your class was perfect for that, because it was like, here it is. It's like, God's telling me this is what you need to do.
Yes.
Well, Father qualifies the called, not, calls the qualified, right? So it's all about, okay, Father, we're going to submit our will into you, and we know that you're going to make the way. So we're just going to walk, and you're going to qualify what it is that we're doing. That's it.
Amen. Carla, where can people find more information on C4? What do they need to know? Where do they need to go? Let's make sure we get all of that in here before we close.
Okay, so the website is c4fl.org. And there you can see the candidates that we've put our name behind, and also learn about some of the other things that we're doing. We did a voter's guide for Sherloc County, which is the county that I live in, and that is on there. We had an event back in May at the Charlotte County Fairgrounds, and we had about 17 different candidates from across the state come and speak and interact with some of the voters. And they also got to network together, which I think was actually the most beneficial thing, because it was early. They had not really gotten to know each other very well, and they got to spend the day together. And I think some alliances were made there. So that was really beneficial. So you can watch the whole video of that day there. Let's see what else. Then we've done some things in Lee County, some robo-texting there, get about issues, not necessarily about candidates, but more about issues. So pretty much the website is the place to go to find out more information right now. We're hoping to be able to have more events coming up, but because it's all volunteer and I work full-time and own a business and a bunch of other political stuff that I do, it's difficult to get all over the state to do things, but we're working on building a network for that.
Beautiful.
Amen. Carla Smith, C4, thank you so much for being on the Watchmen Brief, coming to the training and giving us an incredible testimonial. We appreciate it.
You don't buy life insurance because you plan on dying. You buy life insurance because your loved ones plan on living. Life insurance can be a legacy and a wonderful gift to your family.
When it comes to life insurance, there are lots of options. How and where do you start? With over 40 years in the business, SelectQuote will shop some of the nation's most highly rated providers, with many policies starting at less than $1 a day. A licensed insurance agent will work to find you the right protection at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote is a one-stop shop for buying life insurance. It allows you to compare the prices of providers across your state. We're doing all of the work for you. We're streamlining the process for you as a true concierge service.
With SelectQuote, you could save over 50% on life insurance that fits your needs, your budget, and your life. Get your free quote now from a licensed insurance agent.
Protect your family's future by calling SelectQuote for your free quote with a licensed insurance agent. We shop, you save. 800-212-3199. 800-212-3199.
Watchmen Action Training provides a masterclass for advocating. In less than a day, you and your group are ready to win the battles that matter most. Visit watchmenaction.org to learn more.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, And you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Before you buy a stock, it helps to know what the legends would say. Investornator scores it against 8 legendary investor playbooks. One clear answer, backed by real data. Investornator.com.